Crime, corruption, Fresno, California. We have David Michael Reinhardt back from Soledad Prison in California to discuss the similarities between his case and Dana Ewell's case. This guy, Dana Ewell, was convicted of killing 3 family members, and we believe him to be innocent. I'm here with Mary Bass, my fiancée. She's an expert on the case, and as is Dave Reinhardt.
All right. So in 2018, Dave, after I found your case and was reading information you filed in the federal court, I asked my mom if she recalls any historical cases involving a contested probate, estate, trust, where someone was wrongfully convicted. And she said, yes, the Dana Ewell case. And I remember a bit about it because in 1992 I was 11, which was when the Ewells were murdered. And I remember my godfather, who was a defense lawyer, and my dad saying that they felt that Dana got a raw deal, he was set up, the case was BS, they speculated the sheriffs were involved in the murder, and so I was not prejudiced by any sort of media coverage of the case and the trial. And it seems very suspicious to me that the Ewells are murdered on Easter Sunday, which was April 19th, 1992. Dana, he was very close to his parents. He started calling them. He couldn't get a hold of them or his sister. He got worried. He called his girlfriend's father, FBI agent John Zint, asked him to intervene with Fresno law enforcement to find out what was going on. As we all know, Fresno law enforcement is very resentful of federal law enforcement. So the bodies are discovered on the 21st, 2 days later, and that Friday, the 24th of April, 1992, Michael Dowling opens probate for the Ewells as the personal attorney for the decedents, and he also tries to be granted the independent administrator of the estate. The judge says no, sets a $2 million bond. The funerals are the next day. So he wasn't even waiting till after the funerals. He didn't publish a notice in the Fresno Business Journal that there was going to be a probate so creditors could come forward. He was very quick to swoop on this, suspiciously quick, and I feel that Dana's uncles were involved. Ultimately, they profiteered, and I really believe Dana and his co-defendant Joel Ravitch had nothing to do with these murders at all, and were the scapegoats and the fall guys.
Dave, they recently sent you a book about the case, and you read through that, and you found similarities and links to your situation. Hold it a little closer to the screen so you can see it, so it can focus. Put it in front of your face for a second. It can't focus. Okay, we'll put it in later.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
What's the name?
It's called Catch Me If You Can.
It's called Catch Me If You Can, a book about the Dana Ewell case out of corruption-filled Fresno, California. By Craig Hannadell. Now, what did you think after reading this book and hearing Mary's, we're figuring out that Dana Ewell is actually innocent?
Well, the same attorneys that are involved in Mary's mother's case and my case are involved in this. A guy named Georgeson is involved in my case, stealing my inheritance and covering and concealing my adopted parents, ripping me off. Michael Dowling is involved in Mary's mother's case and is involved in ripping her mother off. Judge Hoff, judge that started off with the initial warrants, is corrupt and dishonest. He's involved in my case. This guy Opplinger, who tried the case, is a district attorney of Fresno, was removed from the bench in Fresno after becoming a judge for misconduct, judicial misconduct. Another judge is now in the federal court, O'Neill, who's involved in this case, is involved in my case and shutting my case down from getting justice in the federal court. There seems to be a small number of people involved in all the cases where inheritances and trust funds are being stolen in Fresno. I read through this book. It's written pro-cop, okay? This isn't from this Dana Ewell side. I've never talked to him. He's in another prison. But it doesn't make sense. What they're saying here, it lacks logical conclusion. I think this guy Radovich and his brother and then another guy named Ponce, who's now an attorney, were involved in the case. I don't think Ewell was, just because of certain things that took place happening during what they're saying happened. It's not plausible what they're saying. There's no evidence against him other than some circumstantial evidence of him dealing with this guy Radovich over the phone, talking to him because he was a friend from the past. But there's no solid evidence whatsoever that he did anything. There's actually evidence that he didn't.
Right, so Dana Ewell has now been sentenced to 3 life sentences out of Fresno, California, just like you, had his inheritance stolen, just like you, and he's been in prison now over 30 years with 3 life sentences for crimes he did not commit.
In fact, in the state prison.
Yeah, that's Fresno. He was involved with Skyways Air Park, which is out by where my adopted parents live, and there's some things going on with drugs being run out of Fresno by the Fresno Mafia, and that involves Skyways Air Park. There's also farms involved in this thing, which involves my adopted father and some other people in that area that, are loaning money to big agriculture business and things. It's disturbing. When you look at this case, you don't come up with any information that Dana Ewell actually did anything, except was friends with one of the guys that's brother was possibly involved in it. And they don't even have that really set up. That the guy turned over a barrel to an 18-9, which that doesn't make sense in and of itself. Why he's going to turn over information that would lead directly to him being a suspect. I think the adopted uncle stepped in to steal his inheritance along with Dowling and Georgeson, and they did. And that's what happens in Fresno. Anybody that gets a big inheritance in that area is getting set up and getting sent to prison, while someone else, if anyone wants to steal an inheritance, Fresno is the place to do it. And that's all I can say about it. I read through this case. It was puzzling because there's no smoking gun here. There's no evidence anybody did anything other that he did anything. Even the guy that's convicted of it, this Joel Radovich, you can't even pretty much say he did anything. They have no solid evidence except his brother and this other guy having involvement in it. I think Radovich talked to his brother and said, Dana Ewell's family's got a lot of money. They own this big old air park out on North Herndon, and they stepped in, and this guy said, okay, we went and ransacked the house, and they didn't find anything worth anything. And the family came home, and they got shot right there on the spot. What doesn't make sense is why would you bring a gun to a murder with no bullets? This is one that really puzzled me, because they said the bullets were found in the house that were used to kill the people. Why would you bring a weapon to a robbery that doesn't have bullets in it unless you're talking about just holding the people hostage or threatening them? They found the bullets, loaded the gun, and the people came home, and they ended up getting shot. That's one of the parts that doesn't make sense to me. And that's one question that was never answered at the trial. I read through the trial transcripts from the appellate court that discussed the case on Ewell's appeal and Dana Ewell's appeal, and it doesn't mention the fact that why did they bring an unloaded weapon to a murder when they didn't have bullets for it?
I know this is speculation, but do you think possibly this could have involved the sheriffs with this type of crime without any physical evidence? I say this because Chris Curtis, who's a detective on the case, the lead detective, who also co-wrote the book, he's been involved in some unsavory things. In 2022, he shot an unarmed man, took a kill shot to the head, an unarmed man at the pickup park in Fresno because they deployed the robot on him and the guy threw it back at him. So, I don't know. I'm from Fresno. Law enforcement's killed a relative of mine and some of my mom's friends. So sometimes that's the first person we look at in Fresno if there's a murder of someone we know, is where were the sheriffs on that day, date, and time?
Yeah. I've got a lot of questions about this, about everything that's going on here. Too much of it just doesn't make sense. And the people involved, I know for a fact the uncles were trying to steal the inheritance, and these attorneys are corrupt and dishonest, and they will set it up to do something. I wouldn't put it past them to have set the thing up.
Also,
I don't know what to think.
The uncles owned a bar called Ewell's Bar or Ewell's Pub, and a lot of sheriffs and cops hung out there. So they were close to a lot of folks. And in 2022, a documentary came out starring Margaret Mims, Chris Curtis, and Sheriff Margerian called Murdered for Millions on ABC 30. They showed it on Hulu, where they're really vilifying Dana again because it's the 30-year anniversary of his parents' and his sister's murder. And also, what coincided with that is his uncle Ben Ewell put out a new book about the case. So they're all profiteering off of this, even in 2022.
Yeah, and that Margaret Mims became sheriff of Fresno.
Yeah.
The guy Morton, that was sheriff when my adopted father killed the guy in front of me, he was out and he was involved in a lot of shady stuff. They all are. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to think about it other than the fact that these people are making money off of this stuff, continuously.
Okay, so we, William Steele True Crime, and Mary, with her research and yours, believe Dana Ewell to be innocent. We believe he was set up to steal his inheritance. Exactly what happened to you. Some of the same players involved, also in Fresno, California. And Dana's soon-to-be father-in-law was an FBI agent, an active FBI agent. And they blocked him all access to the case and the documents when he tried to... and he testified in Dana's defense that he was completely alibied. And people who did this did not act with Dana Ewell's consent or involvement. Thank you for joining us, Dave. Give us a call.